Before all the wahala started, Tonya was doing shakara like she personally owned the village. She would pass by slowly as if drum was beating for her inside invisible palace. If you greet her, she would answer like she just came back from meeting with governors. Sunglasses on her face even at sunset. Chin up like she was smelling imported air. She would say things like, "My fiancé the prince does not like village stress." And the neighbors would open mouth and close mouth like confused fish. Even the ground she walked on looked tired of her confidence. Tonya was not just boasting. She was boasting in capital letters. Welcome to Afro Tales TV, your home for rich, exciting, and inspiring stories from around the world. Today's story will touch your heart and keep you hooked till the very end. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our amazing stories.
In a quiet village where the dust was always red and the goats walked like they owned the road, there lived a young woman named Tonya. Tonya was tall, not small tall, not medium tall, tall like she could pluck mango from the tree without jumping. When she stood in a crowd, her head rose like a palm tree among short bushes. Her skin was shiny black, not dull, not dry, shiny. When the sun touched her skin, it reflected light like she rubbed oil on it every morning. Some people said, "This girl's skin is glowing like new pot." Her face was smooth. Her eyes were sharp. Her lips were full. When she smiled, her teeth showed white like fresh coconut. But the way she walked, Tonya did not walk like other girls in the village. She walked like the ground owed her money. Step. Pause. Turn neck slowly. Step again. If a stone was on the road, she would not move it. The stone must move for her. If chickens were crossing, they had to scatter. Even the village dogs stopped barking when she passed. Not because they respected her, they were just confused. She wore sunglasses every day. Morning time, sunglasses. Evening time, sunglasses. Cloudy day with no sun, sunglasses. One small boy once asked her, "Auntie, why are you wearing dark glasses when there is no sun?" She looked down at him slowly and said, "You will not understand international lifestyle." The boy ran home and told his mother that Tonya was speaking in riddles. Tonya spoke big English, big English, the type that flies over people's heads like aeroplane. If someone greeted her, "Good morning," she would reply, "Yes, I am proceeding towards a progressive destination." The person greeting her would blink twice and say, "Eh?" She would then shake her head like they disappointed her. The villagers did not understand half of what she said, but she said it with confidence, and confidence can confuse people. Slowly, people started calling her City Madam. Some said it with respect, some said it with sarcasm, some said it with small jealousy, but Tonya liked it. When she heard someone say, "City Madam is coming," she would adjust her hair and straighten her back. Nobody really knew where she came from. She had arrived in the village 1 year ago with one small box and one big attitude. She told people she grew up in the city. She told them she had traveled. She told them she had connections. She told them she was not ordinary. And because she spoke boldly, some people believed her. In the village, information spreads fast. If a chicken lays egg, 5 people will know before the chicken stands up. So when Tonya started telling stories, the stories grew wings. She has rich people in the city. She went to big schools. She has a man who wants to marry her. She is engaged to royalty. Royalty. That word entered the village like hot pepper inside soup. Royalty? Prince? Eh? Now listen carefully. While Tonya was walking outside like a queen, her room told a different story. Her room was small, very small. If you stretched both hands, you could almost touch both walls. Inside the room, there was one plastic chair. The chair was not strong. It bent a little when she sat on it, like it was tired of life. There was one small wooden table. One leg of the table was shorter, so she used folded paper to balance it. There was one thin mattress on the floor. That mattress had seen suffering. When she turned at night, it made sound, not small sound like old goat coughing. Krrr, krrr. If you passed her window at night, you would hear it and think somebody was dragging firewood. But outside she was reality. She would wake up early in the morning and sweep the compound slowly like she was supervising, not walking. If someone asked her to fetch water, she would say, "I don't normally engage in manual stress activities." People would look at her bucket and look at her face and walk away. She rarely joined village gossip. Instead, she would stand at the edge listening quietly, then drop one sentence that nobody understood. Once the women were discussing yam price in the market, Tonia said, "The economic inflation of tuberous commodities is alarming." Silence. One woman whispered, "Is she speaking about yam or about witchcraft?" But even though people laughed sometimes, they still watched her because she carried herself like someone who had something hidden. And then one afternoon, under the big mango tree where women normally sit and clean vegetables, Tonia dropped the biggest news. She said it casually, like it was nothing. "I am betrothed." The knife one woman was using to cut okra stopped in mid-air. "Betrothed to who?" someone asked. Tonia adjusted her sunglasses. "To a prince." "A prince?" "Yes," she said calmly. "Royal blood, very influential." Now listen. In a village where most people struggle to buy kerosene, the word prince is not small. The young girl's eyes became wide. "Where is he from? Which kingdom? Is he fair? Does he have car?" Tonia smiled slightly. "He is not local." Not local, that made it bigger. She began to describe him slowly. He is tall, educated, travels abroad, speaks fluent. Fluent what? Nobody asked. She continued, "He has estates." Nobody knew what estates meant, but it sounded expensive. The girls began to imagine big houses with gates that open by themselves. One woman asked, "So when is he coming?" Tonia did not hesitate. "Soon." Soon is a dangerous word. Soon can mean tomorrow. Soon can mean never. But the way she said it made it sound close. After that day, the village changed small. Whenever Tonia passed, whispers followed her. "That is the one engaged to Prince. City madam, royal wife." Some girls started copying her walk. Step, pause, turn neck, but they almost fell because walking like that needs balance. Even the small boys stopped teasing her. One even tried greeting her properly. "Good afternoon, Your Highness." She did not smile, but inside her heart was dancing. At night, when she lay on her noisy mattress staring at the ceiling, she would whisper to herself, "They must respect me." She would close her eyes and imagine big palace, imagine long car, imagine people bowing. The mattress would answer, "Krrr." Reality was small. Dream was big. She had no prince, not even boyfriend, not even someone sending her good morning message. But in the village, she was already promised to royalty. She began to behave even more important. If someone called her from afar, she would pretend not to hear. If children were playing near her room, she would open door and say, "Reduce the environmental disturbance." The children would scatter like pigeons. Some villagers believed her fully. Some were doubtful. One old woman with sharp eyes once said quietly, "The higher the bird flies, the clearer we see its feathers." But nobody challenged Tonia directly, because confidence can be louder than truth. And so she continued, walking like queen, speaking like professor, living like landlord outside, sleeping like struggler inside. And every day she reminded anyone who cared to listen, "I am betrothed to a prince." And that was how the story of Tonia, the girl who walked like a queen, began.
After Tonia told everybody she was betrothed to a prince, the village did not rest again. It was like somebody poured pepper inside the whole village water. People could not stop talking. If you went to the market, you would hear it. If you went to the stream, you would hear it. If you passed by the palm wine joint, you would hear it. Tonia is engaged to a prince. City madam will soon become palace woman. Royal wedding is coming. Even the goats heard it. If goat could talk, it would say, "Ba, prince." Tonia liked the attention. Every time she walked past, she acted like a celebrity. She would lift her chin high and walk slowly, as if the road was a red carpet. Sometimes she would greet people, but not like normal greeting. She would just nod once, like a queen greeting her subjects. Some people greeted her back with respect. Some greeted her back with fear. Some greeted her back with laughter inside their belly. But nobody wanted to be the one to spoil her shine, because Tonia's pride was strong, very strong.
And one thing about pride is this: it can make a person brave in front of people and weak when alone. Now, one evening, when people were sitting outside enjoying breeze, Tonya came out and stood like she was about to make an important announcement. The women washing plates stopped and looked. The girls weaving hair stopped and looked. Even the small children stopped running. Everybody waited. Tonya cleared her throat gently, like a rich person. Then she said it. "My prince is coming on Valentine's Day." Ah! If you threw stone inside water, it would not scatter the village like that sentence. People shouted, "Valentine's Day? Hey, this one is serious. Is he coming to marry you that day?" Tonya raised her hand like a teacher controlling class. "Calm down. He is coming to take me out." "To take you out?" one girl screamed. "Yes," Tonya said with confidence. "He wants to show me love in a special way." Another girl asked, "How will he come?" Tonya smiled. "In a big car." Somebody nearly fell from surprise. "Big car? Like what?" Tonya did not answer quickly. She wanted suspense. Then she said slowly, "Big car with tinted glass, with driver, with AC so cold it can freeze water." The girls started breathing faster. A big car in the village was like seeing a lion walking in the market. It was rare. It was serious. It was something that would make everybody come out. One woman asked, "So the prince is really real?" Tonya looked at her like the question was insulting. "Of course he is real. Do I look like someone who jokes with royal blood?" Nobody replied, because her face was serious, and serious face can make nonsense sound like truth. From that day, the village began preparing mentally, like there was a festival coming. The young girls started planning what to wear just to watch. Some said, "That day I will wear my best dress." Some said, "I will go and sit near their compound so I can see the car well." Some even started practicing how to greet like a palace woman. One young girl knelt down in her mother's room and said, "Your Highness, you are welcome." Her mother shouted, "Stand up. If you break your knees, will Prince buy another one for you?" But the girl continued. Another girl said, "Maybe I should learn royal greeting because who knows, I might marry Prince's friend." The village girls were not ready to miss any opportunity. Valentine's Day became their movie day. They were not going for cinema, the cinema was coming to them. Now, the older women in the village were not all happy. Some were looking at Tonya with side eye. One woman named Mama Ejiro said, "This girl and her story." Another woman said, "Maybe it is true. She acts like city person." Mama Ejiro replied, "Acting is not truth. Even madman can wear suit." Some women laughed, but some women were still believing because they had seen her confidence. They had seen her sunglasses. They had heard her big English. To them, confidence meant evidence. But one old woman in the village did not talk much. Her name was Mama Nenna. Her eyes were small but sharp like needle. She did not talk with noise. When she talked, people listened. Mama Nenna sat under the mango tree and listened to everybody praising Tonya. Then she said quietly, "Let us wait." People turned to her. She continued, "Even masquerade removes mask at night." When she said that, the air changed. Some people laughed awkwardly. Some people kept quiet. Some people looked at Tonya's compound like they were expecting masquerade to remove mask immediately. Tonya heard the saying. She forced a small laugh. But inside her heart, fear entered. Because Mama Nena's mouth was not the type to talk nonsense. She was the type who sees things before they happen. But Tonya could not turn back. She had already gone too far. If she turned back, the shame would kill her inside. People would laugh. They would mock her. They would call her fake. They would stop greeting her city madam. They would greet her like village struggler. Tonya did not want that. So she continued pushing the life forward, like someone pushing wheelbarrow full of sand. Every day, she added more details. She said the prince lived in a big house. She said he had bodyguards. She said he had perfumes that smell like dollars. She even said the prince's skin shined like imported cream. The girls screamed when they heard that. Imported cream? That means he is very rich. One girl said, "Please, if you see him, tell him I'm available." Another girl said, "If you marry him, will you take us to city?" Tonya replied like a rich auntie, "We will see." She started behaving as if Valentine's Day was her personal wedding. She started walking more slowly than before. She started speaking more softly, like a person who has secret money. And whenever anybody asked, "Are you sure he is coming?" she would answer with anger. "Do you think I am lying?" Then people would quickly say, "No, no, no, we are just happy." But when Tonya was alone, she was not happy. She was shaking inside because the truth was standing in front of her like a wall. There was no prince. There was no big car. There was no driver. There was not even one man calling her phone. Sometimes she would stare at her phone and press it like she wanted a miracle. She would open her contact list. There was nobody there with name Prince. There was nobody there with name My Love. There was nobody there with name Royal King. Only numbers like Taylor, Mama Ejiro, Market Woman. She would quickly lock the phone again and pretend she did not see. At night, she would lie down on her noisy mattress. The mattress would make sound like old goat again. Krrr, krrr. She would cover her face with cloth. Sometimes she would whisper to herself, "How did I enter this trouble?" But in the morning, she would wake up and wear her sunglasses again because she had decided something in her heart. She must not feel, she must not be exposed, she must not allow the village to laugh at her, even if she had to create Prince with her own hands. So Valentine's Day became the deadline. A day she must prove her lie. A day she must prove evidence. A day she must bring something that will shut everybody's mouth. Because Mama Nena had already warned, even masquerade removes mask at night. Antonia was already deep inside the masquerade costume. Too deep, and she did not know how to remove it without disgrace. So she smiled outside, but inside her heart was running up and down like a frightened chicken. And that was how the story of the Invisible Prince continued.
The day after Tonya announced that her prince was coming for Valentine's Day, fear entered her body like hot pepper inside fresh wound. It burned. It did not allow her to rest. In the morning, she woke up sweating. In the afternoon, she could not eat well. At night, she turned on her mattress again and again until the mattress cried, "Krrr, krrr." There was no prince. There was no big car. There was no rich man with skin shining like imported cream. There was only Tonya. Only her pride. And pride does not buy flowers. She sat on her small plastic chair and held her phone. She opened her contact list again. Nothing. She opened her messages. Nothing. She opened her call log. Only missed call from network promo. She swallowed hard. Valentine's Day was getting closer like a hungry dog running toward meat. People in the village were already counting days. Some girls were already planning where to stand to see the big car. Some women were already planning what wrapper to wear so they would not look poor when the prince arrived. And Tonya was shaking. But instead of telling the truth, she did what proud people do. She chose a bigger lie. She said to herself, "If there's no prince, I will create prince." That was how Operation Fake Valentine started. She opened her phone and went to the internet. She searched for money. Not job, not work, money. She saw small loan apps, instant cash, quick money in 5 minutes, no collateral. Her eyes shone. 5 minutes? No collateral? That sounded like miracle. She downloaded the first loan app, then second, then third. She was pressing download like she was downloading music. Her phone started getting hot, very hot, like she put it inside fire, but she did not care. She filled forms, name, phone number, address, next of kin. She typed everything fast. Her hands were shaking, but she typed boldly. After some minutes, the first alert entered. 10,000 naira credited. Her heart jumped. She shouted softly, "Yes." Then second alert entered. Then third. Small money, but when she added everything together, it looked big to her eyes. Her phone was now overheating like small generator that had worked too long, but she smiled. "Prince money," she whispered. She did not think about repayment. She did not think about interest. She did not think about warning messages. All she thought about was respect. Respect is expensive, and she was ready to buy it. She opened shopping websites. She searched for flowers, not small flowers, big ones, the type that can hide half of her body. She found one bouquet so big it looked like it was prepared for a wedding. She gasped. Perfect. She added it to cart. Then she searched for chocolate. Not one small bar, big box, tall box, the kind that if you carry it, people will ask if it is television. She added it. Then she searched for balloons, heart shape, red, pink. Some even had "I love you" written on them. She chose the biggest size.
the type that looks like it wants to float to heaven and report love story to angels. She did not stop there. She added perfume. She added cake. She added fancy gift bag. Her cart was full like market basket. When she looked at the total amount, her heart beat small. But then she remembered the village girls. She remembered Mama Nena's eyes. She remembered the word masquerade, and she pressed pay. Her account balance reduced. Reduced again. Reduced again. If account balance had mouth, it would be crying, it would be shouting, "Why are you doing this to me?" But Tonia ignored it. She leaned back on her plastic chair and laughed softly. "Let them see," she said. Then she remembered something important: delivery. If gifts just arrive quietly, it will not be dramatic. It must be loud, it must be serious, it must enter the compound like celebration. So she called the delivery company. When the man answered, she spoke with confidence. "Please, on that day, when you arrive, you must shout loudly." The man was confused. "Shout what?" She said, "Shout that special delivery for Madame." The man laughed, but she was serious. "I will add extra money." When he heard extra money, his voice changed. "No problem, Madame." She continued, "You must greet me with respect. Call me Madame. Stand straight. Make sure people hear." The man agreed again. She ended the call and stood up. Now it was time to practice. She went to her small mirror. The mirror had small crack at the side, but it was enough. She held imaginary bouquet in her hand. She widened her eyes like she was surprised. "Oh, my prince, you shouldn't have." She practiced smiling. Too big. She reduced it. She tried looking emotional. She tried looking proud but humble. She tried looking like someone used to expensive gifts but still grateful. She did it again. "Oh, my prince, you shouldn't have." Her mattress made sound behind her. Krrr. It sounded like it was laughing. She ignored it. She practiced walking outside to receive imaginary gifts. Step slow, smile gentle, turn neck slightly so sunglasses can shine. She even practiced how to answer villagers. If they ask, "Where is the prince?" she will say, "Emergency trip abroad." She said it 10 times. Emergency trip abroad. It sounded powerful. It sounded serious. She practiced again. Emergency trip abroad. She nodded at her reflection like she passed exam. That night she lay on her mattress with strange joy. Fear was still there, but excitement joined it. The kind of excitement a thief feels before stealing a goat. Her phone vibrated. She opened it. Loan repayments due in 14 days. She quickly locked the phone. "After Valentine," she said. She turned to the other side. Krrr, the mattress answered. The next day, she walked outside with extra confidence. She was now holding secret plan. She saw some girls discussing Valentine's Day. She smiled quietly. "If only you know," she thought. Mama Nena passed by and looked at her for a long. Her heart skipped, but she kept her face strong. Inside her room, the receipt messages were sitting quietly. The loan apps were counting days. Her phone was still hot from all the downloading. Her account balance was low, very low, like dry well during dry season. But outside, Tonia was preparing for a royal performance. Operation Fake Valentine was in full motion, and she believed that once the gift arrived, once the compound saw evidence, once the balloons filled the air, nobody would ever doubt her again. She stood in front of the mirror one last time that evening. She adjusted her hair. She lifted her chin. She held imaginary bouquet in her hand, and she said softly, smiling, "Oh, my prince, you shouldn't have." Meanwhile, her account balance was crying. Valentine's Day came to the village like a loud festival. Not the normal kind of day where everybody wakes up, sweeps, goes to farm, goes to market, and comes back tired. No. This day entered the village like a drum beat. Even before the sun became hot, people were already awake. Some women woke up early and started washing plates like visitors were coming. Some girls woke up early and started dressing up like they were going for wedding. Some boys woke up early and started roaming around Tonia's compound like small security men. Everybody was waiting. Everybody was watching. Because today was the day. The day the prince would come. The day the big car would enter the village. The day City Madame would become royal wife. Even the chickens were moving around with excitement, as if they too wanted to see royal romance. Tonia woke up in a small room and sat up fast. Her heart was beating like drum. Boom, boom, boom. She looked around. Plastic chair, small table, thin mattress. Everything was still poor. But today, she must look rich. She stood up and cleaned her face quickly. She wore her best clothes, not because it was truly expensive, but because it looked fine when you looked from far. She wore her sunglasses too, of course. No sun yet, but sunglasses must be there. She sprayed small perfume on her body. The perfume was not strong, but she sprayed it with confidence like it was imported. Then she looked at her mirror. She practiced her face. Today, she must look surprised. Today, she must look happy. Today, she must look like somebody used to gifts. She whispered to herself, "Calm down, you have planned this." Outside, the village was already shaking with talk. Two women passing by her compound were saying, "Today we will see the prince with our eyes." One young girl said, "I want to see how Prince looks. Maybe he will bring Prince friend." Another girl replied, "Even if he does not bring friend, I just want to see the car." The car. Everybody was talking about the car. Tonya heard them and her stomach turned small because there was no car, no prince, but she had her own plan, her gifts, her delivery man, her drama. She just needed to act well. Before noon, her compound was already getting visitors. Not invited visitors, village visitors, the kind that enters without permission because they have interest. Little children came first. They ran in and out like rats. They climbed the small wall and sat there. Women came next. They came with wrappers tied tight. Some carried bowls pretending they were passing by. Some carried babies pretending they were just taking fresh air. But everybody came for one thing: to watch, to confirm, to gossip, to report. Because in the village, if you don't see it, you cannot talk well about it. And nobody wanted to miss the story. Tonya came out and greeted like a queen. She smiled small, not too much. Too much smiling can show desperation. She greeted calmly like, "Yes, you are welcome. You will soon see greatness." The women replied, "We are here. We are waiting." Some sat down. Some stood. Some pretended to sweep near her room so they could stay close. Time was passing. The sun became hot. Sweat entered people's body. Still no prince. Still no car. Some doubters started murmuring. One woman whispered, "This is noon. Prince never reach." Another woman replied, "Maybe he is coming from city. Road is long." Mama Ijiro, the woman that always doubts, said loudly, "Some people can talk." Mama Nena, the old woman with sharp eyes, did not say anything. She just sat down and watched Tonia's face. Tonia pretended she did not notice, but inside her heart was shaking like leaf during strong wind. Then suddenly, a loud voice entered the compound from the front. "Special delivery, special delivery." Everybody turned their head like they were in one movie. Children screamed, "Delivery man!" Women stood up quickly. Someone shouted, "He has come! He has come!" But it was not Prince. It was the delivery man. He entered like a town crier. He held a big box and walked like someone carrying government money. He even cleared his throat. Then he shouted louder exactly as Tonia paid him to shout. "Special package for our queen. Delivery for madame." The compound scattered. Women left their cooking. Women left their gossip. Children ran barefoot. Even one man that was passing stopped and entered, pretending he was just checking something. The delivery man brought out the gifts one by one. The gifts filled the courtyard like market goods. Flowers big enough to decorate a wedding. A box of chocolate taller than a child. Heart balloons that looked like they wanted to float straight to heaven. Gift bags, cake pack, everything. People's mouths opened. Some people touched the flowers to confirm they were real. One girl even bent down and smelt it like she was smelling money. A small boy touched the balloon and shouted, "It is flying." Everybody laughed. The delivery man continued shouting nonsense. "Madame, your package. Madame, sign here." Tonia entered the scene like an actress. She walked slowly, step, pause, face up, sunglasses shining. She placed her hand on her chest like she was shocked. She acted as if her heart was melting. She spoke loudly so everybody would hear. "Oh, my prince, you shouldn't have." Some girls screamed, "Ah!" Some women clapped their hands. One young girl whispered to her friend, "This is love, oh." The delivery man bowed small and spoke with respect like he was greeting a president. "Madame, please collect." Tonia collected like she was collecting a crown. She nodded like a queen. Everybody was looking at her like she was now confirmed rich. Now the question came, like expected. One woman shouted, "Where is the prince?" Another shouted, "Yes, oh, where is the prince? We want to greet him." The compound became quiet. Even the goats stopped bleating. Everyone waited. Tonia did not blink, not even once. She remembered her practice. She lifted her chin and said calmly, "Emergency trip abroad." Gasps everywhere. "Abroad?" "Yes," she continued with confidence. "Something urgent came up, but he could not allow Valentine's Day to pass without showing love, so he sent these." Some women started nodding. That is love. Some young girls started sighing. If I get this kind of love, I will not sleep." Mama Ejiro scoffed under her breath. "Emergency trip, But even Mama Ejiro's mouth reduced small because the gifts were too loud. Evidence is a powerful thing. Even doubters fear evidence. Now, Tonia knew one thing. If she ended it there, people might still suspect. So she did the next step. She began to share, like politicians during campaign. She had borrowed extra money to buy food and drinks. She brought out soft drinks. She brought out juice. She brought out biscuits. She brought out snacks. She even cooked small rice and stew, not plenty, but enough for people to say she tried. She told a young boy, "Bring that music." The boy ran and brought small speaker. Music started playing inside the compound. Not loud like club, but loud enough for everybody to feel celebration. People started smiling. People started eating. People started drinking. One woman said, "Tonya, you have tried. Your prince really is serious." Tonya smiled like she was humble. Another woman said, "This your life is sweet." Tonya replied, "It is grace." Young girls began to envy her openly. One girl said, "God, when? See gifts." Another girl said, "This is the kind of Valentine I want." Some girls began to circle around the gifts like it was a shrine. They took pictures with the flowers. They held balloon and posed. They even held chocolate box and smiled like it belonged to them. Tonya allowed it because it made her look more important. The more people celebrated her, the more her lie became true in their minds. Some men passing by stopped and looked. One man said, "So Tonya is really going to marry Prince?" Another replied, "If Prince can send gifts like this, he is not joking." Even the people that doubted started smiling small because free food can change a person's mind quickly. One woman that was always gossiping said, "I like this girl. She is generous." Mama Nena was still watching quietly. She ate small, drank small, and watched Tonia's face. Tonya felt that gaze like needle, but she kept her smile. The celebration continued like small carnival. Children were running around the balloons. Women were dancing small with their wrappers. Someone even started singing love song. People were happy. People were laughing. And Tonya, she was acting like this was normal. Inside, she was relieved because today she had shown something. She had proved something, at least in people's eyes. When evening came, visitors started going home. They carried the story on their head like a basket. As they walked, you could hear them saying, "Did you see the flowers? Did you see the chocolate box? Did you hear emergency trip abroad? That prince is serious." The young girls went home and looked at their own empty hands and sighed. The women went home and told their husbands. Even the little children went home and told their parents nonsense like, "Tonia's prince sent balloon that wanted to fly to heaven." Night finally entered. The compound became quiet. The music stopped. The cups and plates were washed. The gifts were packed into her room. Tonya entered her room and locked the door. She removed her sunglasses and sighed deeply. She sat on a plastic chair and laughed softly. Not because she was truly happy, but because she survived the day. She lay on her mattress like a champion, like a winner, like someone who defeated shame. Her eyes closed slowly, and as she slept, her phone was buzzing beside her like a mosquito of destiny.
1 week after Valentine's Day, the sweetness started turning sour. The flowers were already bending their heads. The balloons were slowly losing air and hanging like tired chicks. The chocolate box was almost empty. The visitors had stopped coming. The music had stopped playing. The celebration noise had disappeared. But something else started making noise. Her phone. The first message came early in the morning. "Pay now." Tonya was still lying on her mattress when the message entered. She squinted her eyes and read it again. "Pay now." She hissed and turned to the other side. Grrr, the mattress answered. She told herself, it is just one message. She stood up and tried to ignore it. But before she could finish brushing her teeth, another message entered. "Reminder, your loan is due." Her heart jumped small. She opened the app. She saw the amount. It had increased. "How?" she whispered. She checked another app. That one had increased too. She checked another. It had doubled like a drank energy drink. Interest had entered like thief in the night. She sat down slowly on her plastic chair. Her stomach tightened. She told herself, "Calm down, I will handle it." But the messages did not calm down. By afternoon, her phone had buzzed more than 10 times. Final notice. Avoid legal action. Pay immediately. The words were big. The words were scary. The words were not smiling. She switched off her phone. Peace entered for 2 minutes. Then fear entered again. She switched it on. Immediately, missed calls started showing like ants. Unknown numbers, different numbers back to back. Her phone began ringing. Morning, afternoon, night. Even when she was eating. Even when she was sweeping. Even when she was resting. The calls were not tired. They were serious. One day, she decided to answer. "Hello?" The voice on the other side was not friendly. "Madam, you are owing." The word owing hit her chest like stone. I will pay," she said quickly. "When?" "Soon." "How soon?" She kept quiet. The voice became harder. "Pay before deadline to avoid consequences." The call ended. Her hand was shaking. That same day, she went to church.
She thought maybe church would bring peace. She sat down and tried to pray. The pastor was preaching. People were singing. Suddenly, her phone vibrated loudly inside her bag. People turned to look. She quickly silenced it. She tried to focus again. Bzzz, another call. She squeezed the eyes shut. Even in church, they were calling her. Her heart was louder than the pastor's microphone. Boom, boom, boom. She could not hear the sermon again. All she could hear was, "Pay now." After church, she walked home slowly. Her confidence was reducing. Her sunglasses were still on her face, but her eyes were tired inside. She entered her room and checked her phone again. More messages, more warnings, more red signs. The amount had increased again. It was no longer small money. It was now serious money. Money that could buy goat. Money that could rent house. Money that could bring disgrace. She began to sweat. She walked up and down her small room. Up, down, up, down. The plastic chair looked at her like it knew something. The mattress made small sound like it was laughing. She sat down and held her head. What will I do? That was the first time she asked herself that question seriously. Before Valentine's Day, she was brave. After Valentine's Day, she was proud. Now, she was afraid. But pride still did not allow her to confess. So she chose another plan. She would borrow again. But this time, not from app, from people. She adjusted her clothes and walked outside. She started visiting neighbors one by one. The same neighbors that danced in her compound. The same neighbors that ate her rice. The same neighbors that drank her drinks. She knocked on the first door. Mama Ejiro opened. "Ah, city madam, what is it?" Tonya forced a small smile. "Mama, please, I need small help." "What help?" "My uncle had accidents in the city." Mama Ejiro blinked. "Uncle? Which uncle?" "My mother's brother." Mama Ejiro folded her hands. "How much?" Tonya mentioned the amount. Mama Ejiro's eyes widened. "That kind of money, I don't have it. Even small, we don't have cash. Times are hard." Tonya nodded slowly and left. She went to another neighbor. She changed the story. "My prince's bank account is frozen." The woman laughed small. "Bank frozen?" "Yes, temporary issue. Ask your prince to unfreeze it." Tonya swallowed. "He will send soon." "Then wait." Door closed gently. She went to another house. This time she said, "I have emergency." The woman replied, "We all have emergency." She went to a man that once praised her. "Sir, please." He shook his head before she finished. "I don't mix in royal matters." She forced a smile. He added, "Ask your prince." That sentence began to follow her like shadow. Ask your prince. Ask your prince. Ask your prince. The same mouths that praised her, the same mouths that called her lucky, the same mouths that admired her flowers, those mouths were now tight like locked doors. Even the girls who envied her were looking at her differently. One girl whispered when she passed, "Where is the big car now?" Another girl said quietly, "Royal life have problem?" She pretended not to hear, but she heard everything. The respect she bought with loan money was now expiring, like old milk. She visited more houses, more excuses, more lies. "My phone has problem. My relative is sick. My transport got stolen." But the villagers suddenly became economists. People who never talked about money were now talking about inflation. "We don't have cash. Market is slow. Business is hard. Go and meet your prince." Some even smiled while refusing her. The smile was not kind. It was sharp. The kind that says, "We know something." Her legs became weak from walking. Her throat became dry from lying. Her pride was slowly cracking like old wall. She went back to her room before sunset. She closed the door. She leaned her back against it and slid down slowly until she sat on the floor. Her phone buzzed again. She did not check. It buzzed again. She covered it with pillow. It still vibrated, like mosquito of destiny that refused to die. Her heart was heavy. The gifts that once made her look powerful were now useless. The flowers were dying. The balloons were flat. The chocolate was finished. But the death was alive, very alive. She looked around her small room. Everything looked smaller. Everything looked tighter. The air felt heavy. For the first time she's entered the village, she felt alone, very alone. No prince, no big car, no rescue, only death, only shame waiting at the door. And outside, the same people who once shouted her name were now whispering. The same mouths that praised her were now tight like locked doors. That afternoon,
The sun was hot like fire. Not the kind of sun that only warms your skin. This one was the kind of sun that makes you feel like somebody is roasting you slowly. Tonya had gone to the market early. She had walked around with her small basket, trying to look normal, trying to look like she still had dignity. But dignity was leaving her body little by little. She was sweating. Her throat was dry. Her head was heavy. And her heart was not inside her chest again. It was inside her phone because the phone had not rested. The loan apps had turned into village witches. Morning, they called. Afternoon, they called. Night, they called. If she switched off her phone, they sent messages. If she switched it on, they called again. They were not tired. They were not ashamed. They did not care that she was eating. They did not care that she was praying. They did not care that she was breathing. They wanted their money. So that day in the market, Tonya was not really buying things. She was just walking and thinking. She was thinking of who to beg again. She was thinking of what lie to tell next. She was thinking of how to escape shame. But shame was already chasing her like a stubborn goat. Even in the market, people were already whispering. Two women were selling pepper and talking. One said, "That city madam has been looking thin." The other replied, "Maybe Prince traveled again." They laughed. Tonya heard them and pretended she did not. She adjusted her basket on her head and walked away. But even as she walked, her phone buzzed. Bzzz. She stopped near a tomato seller and checked quickly. Final warning. Her stomach turned. She moved away and checked again. A call entered. Unknown number. She did not answer. The number called again immediately, like the person had fire inside their hand. She silenced it. She walked faster. As she walked through the dusty road back to her compound, her body was tired, but her mind was more tired. She was holding her basket with one hand and wiping sweat with the other. Her fine sunglasses were not on her face that day, not because the glasses had broken small at the side the day before, and she did not have money to fix it, so her face was naked. And without the sunglasses, she looked more like ordinary village girl, more like the truth she was hiding. She reached the area near her compound. From far, she noticed something strange. People were standing. Not one person, not two, many people. Crowd, like something was happening, like somebody had died, like somebody had won money, like drama had entered. Her legs slowed, her eyes narrowed. "What is happening?" she murmured. The closer she came, the louder the noise became. People were talking at the same time. Children were laughing and pointing. Women were whispering and adjusting their wrappers. Some men were standing with hands at their back, forming the serious face they use when they want to look important. Thonia's heart began to beat fast again. Boom, boom, boom. She pushed through people like someone trying to reach her own destiny. Then she saw it. Right in front of her small room. Two policemen, standing, not sitting, standing like pillars of embarrassment. Their uniforms were neat, their faces were hard, their boots were shining like they came for festival. And behind them, the crowd was thick. Everybody's eyes were looking at one place. Her room, her door, her life. Tonya stopped like somebody poured cold water on her head. Her basket almost slipped. Her sweat increased. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. Her legs wanted to run. But where would she run to? Everybody had already seen her. One child shouted loudly, "Auntie Tonya is here!" Ah! That shout was like bell. Everybody turned their head at once, all eyes on her. Some eyes were shocked. Some eyes were happy. Some eyes were hungry for gossip. Some eyes were laughing already. Tonya felt naked. She felt like her skin was no longer shiny but exposed. One policeman looked at her and asked, "Are you Tonya?" Her voice was small like ant. "Yes." The policeman nodded slowly, like he had caught fish. He turned and spoke loud so everybody would hear. "You have been reported for unpaid online loans." The compound shook. Not because earthquake entered, because shame entered. It was like thunder without rain. People began to murmur immediately. Unpaid loan. Online loan? Ah, so it is true. Some women covered their mouth with wrapper pretending they were not laughing, but their eyes were smiling. Some men shook their head like village judges. Children climbed windows.
Yes, windows. Some children climbed the small block near the window and stretched their neck like rubber. They wanted to see everything. One boy climbed a tree branch and sat there like bird. Women adjusted wrappers as if adjusting wrappers would protect them from drama. One woman even retied her headscarf like she was preparing for battle. Mama Ejiro came forward, holding her waist. She spoke loudly. "Police, what is happening?" One policeman replied, "She is owing. We are here for her." Mama Ejiro clapped once. I knew it. Big English cannot stop death. Some people laughed small. Tonia's face turned hot. Her ears were burning. She wanted to disappear into the ground, but the ground refused. The policeman asked, "Do you have the money to pay?" Tonia swallowed hard. Her throat was dry like dry fish. She shook her head slowly. "No." The crowd increased their murmuring. See disgrace. Where is her prince? That question started again. Where is her prince? Tonia looked at the crowd. She saw faces she knew. People who ate in her compound on Valentine's Day. People who drank her drinks. People who praised her flowers. People who called her lucky. Now those same people were standing like audience in cinema, watching her shame. Some young girls were smiling. Not loud smile. The kind of smile that hides jealousy and satisfaction. One girl whispered to another, "So the prince was heir." The other replied, "Prince traveled to network." They laughed. Tonia's eyes became watery, but she refused to cry in front of them. She tried to talk. "Officer, please, it is small misunderstanding." The policeman's face did not change. He said, "We have given you enough time. You refuse to pay. You refuse to respond." Tonia wanted to say, "I responded," but she knew it would sound useless because she had no money. Another policeman stepped forward. He said, "You will come with us." Tonia's body became weak. Her basket fell from her hand. Tomatoes rolled on the ground. One rolled and stopped near a child's foot. The child picked it and held it like trophy. Some people laughed again. One woman said, "Even her tomatoes are running away." Mama Nena was there too. She did not laugh. She just looked at Tonia with pity and small anger, like someone watching a child who refused advice. The policeman moved closer to her. Tonia stepped back. Her back touched her door, her small room behind her, the room that held her lies, the room that held her dead balloons, the room that held her empty chocolate box, the room that held her phone full of warnings. She wanted to go inside and lock the door and pretend nothing happened, but life does not allow that. One policeman took her arm, not violently, but firmly, like, "This is real." Tonia's breath stopped for 1 second. People gasped, not because they cared, because it was sweet to watch drama. She turned her head and looked around one last time. The crowd was full, so full. Even people from other compounds had joined. News moves faster than bicycle in the village. Some people were even arriving late asking, "What happened? What happened?" Someone answered, "Police came for Tonia because of online loan." The latecomers ran closer like it was free show. Tonia's legs began to move slowly as the policemen led her away. She did not want to walk, but her legs had no choice. As she walked, people followed behind, forming a moving crowd. Children followed, women followed, men followed. It was like they were escorting her, not to help her, but to enjoy her shame fully. Some people were even making jokes. One man said, "So this is royal arrest." Another said, "Prince will come and bail her now." Laughter again. Tonia's eyes were now full. Tears were sitting there, ready to fall, but she kept blinking, pushing them back. Because once tears fall, the village will use it to cook gossip soup for 1 month. As they reached the front gate of the compound, her strength finally reduced. She felt like her body was no longer strong. She felt like her neck was too heavy. She felt like the whole village was sitting on her head. Then, from inside the crowd, someone whispered, not shouted, whispered, but it was loud enough to enter her heart. "Where is the prince now?" That question hit harder than handcuffs.
The small police station was not far from the village, but to Tonia, that journey felt like traveling from earth to shame. When they reached the station, the policeman opened the small gate and led her inside. The air inside that place smelled like dust, sweat, old paper, and seriousness. It was not the kind of place where you can come and do big English. It was not the kind of place where sunglasses can save you. It was the kind of place where truth sits down and waits for you. They pushed a chair for her. Not a fine chair, a hard chair that looked like it was made to punish pride. Tonya sat down. Her body was shaking. Her throat was dry like dry gari. Her eyes were hot. And once her eyes became hot, tears did not ask permission again. They started coming out. At first, she tried to stop it. She wiped her face quickly, pretending she was only sweating. But her tears were stubborn. They kept coming. And soon, she started crying like a child. Not small cry, oh, big cry. The kind of cry that shakes your chest. The kind of cry that makes your nose run. The kind of cry that makes you forget you ever said international lifestyle. No sunglasses, no big English, only tears. One policeman looked at her and said, "Madam, stop crying and call somebody to help you pay." Tonya could not even answer quickly. Her mouth was trembling. Who would she call? She had no father, no mother, no brother, no sister, no rich uncle, no prince. Only her phone full of loan apps and warnings. She held her phone in her hand like it was now her enemy. She opened her contact list with shaking fingers. The names inside looked poor like her room. Tailor, pepper seller, market woman. Nobody that can pay big money. Nobody that can rescue shame. The policeman sighed and said, "You see, that's why you people should stop borrowing what you cannot pay." You people. That word hurt her, like she was now part of a group of fools. She dropped her head and cried again. Outside the station, the village was already on fire. Not real fire, gossip fire. The type that burns reputation. Because news does not wait. News runs. And this news ran faster than Hamatan fire in dry grass. Before Tonya even sat down properly inside the station, people in the village already knew. Somebody had already used bicycle to carry the information. Somebody had already used mouth to spread it. Tonya has been arrested. Police carried her. Online loan. Some people did not even know what online loan meant, but they added their own spices. One woman told another, they said she stole bank money. Another person said, they said her prince reported her. Another man said, they said she is part of Yahoo. But the real gist was still the same. The city madam had fallen, and the village enjoyed it like free movie. People started laughing, they started mocking, they started exaggerating her exaggeration. At the palm wine joint, men were drinking and shouting jokes. One man said, "So the prince was Wi-Fi love?" Everybody laughed. Another man said, "City madam is village debtor." More laughter. A woman passing by said, "Her prince traveled abroad but forgot to travel with money." Somebody replied, "Prince traveled to network problem." People laughed again. Even small children joined. Children that did not understand anything were singing nonsense. "Prince is coming, prince is coming." Then they ended it with, "Police is coming, police is coming." They laughed and ran around like it was a game. Mama Ejiro was moving around like she owned the gossip. She went from compound to compound, telling the story with enjoyment. She said, "Didn't I tell you? Big English does not pay debt." Mama Nena did not talk much, but she shook her head quietly because she knew pride had eaten Tonya, and now pride was vomiting her out. Meanwhile, inside the station, Tonya was sitting like a broken person. The police told her to write statement. She held pen. Her hand could not stop shaking. She wrote her name slowly. She wrote her address. Her tears fell on the paper and made small spots. The policeman looked at her and said, "So where is the person that gave you money? Where is your prince?" That word entered her ear like knife. Prince. Tonya did not answer. The policeman looked at her again. He said, "Are you not the one doing big lifestyle?" Tonya wanted to say something, but nothing came out. She only cried. Another policeman brought water, not because he liked her, because too much crying was disturbing them. He gave it to her and said, "Drink." Tonya drank small. Her throat was still dry, because shame cannot be washed with water. Time passed. Hours passed. She stayed there. She sat like somebody waiting for Judgment Day. Sometimes she would look at the door, hoping someone would enter and say, "I am here to pay for her," but nobody entered. Some of her neighbors that she begged before did not come. Not one. Not even the women that ate in her compound and praised her. Not even the girls that took pictures with her balloons. Nobody. She felt it deeply. In that moment, she understood something. When you are high, many people clap for you. But when you fall, the clapping stops. Some people even clap for your fall. She cried again. Then evening came. The station became quiet. The policemen were now tired. One of them said, "If you can't pay, you will stay." The word "stay" sounded like prison in her ears. Her body became cold. She hugged herself. She remembered her small room in the village. Even though it was poor, it was still her space. This place was not her space. This place was not safe. This place was shame. That night, she slept on a bench, not mattress, bench, hard bench. She slept small, waking up every time somebody coughed, every time a door opened, every time a policeman walked. She felt like she was living inside nightmare. And as she lay there, her mind started playing pictures like film. The flowers, the balloons, the crowd cheering, her fake surprise. Oh, my prince, you shouldn't have. Now the prince was not there, only police, only death, only disgrace. In the morning, the noise returned. People came to the station to check something. You know those people? They come and pretend they are serious, but their eyes are eating the drama. Some women stood outside and pointed. That is her. That is City Madame. See how she's looking now. Some men laughed. Some children peeped. Tonya wanted to hide her face, but there was nowhere to hide. She was exposed completely. Then something happened. Not everybody came to laugh. A few people came with pity. Good people. The kind of people who still have soft heart, even when gossip is sweet. One was a middle-aged one named Mama Ifola. Another was an old man named Papa Kunle. And there were two other women with them. These people were not rich, but they were kind. They stood at the gate and asked the policeman what happened. The policeman explained. Mama Ifoma sighed deeply. She said, this girl, she has no one. Papa Kunle said, but we cannot leave her like this. One of the women replied, she embarrassed us in the village though. Mama Ifoma said, yes, but embarrassment cannot kill a human being. Let us help her. They talked quietly among themselves. They did not shout. They did not broadcast. They did not make it a show. They remembered something. They remembered that Valentine's Day, Tonya shared food and drinks. Even though it was from loan, she still shared. She did not insult them. She fed them. So their hearts softened. They gathered money. Not big money from one person, small money from many hands. One brought 5,000 naira. One brought 2,000 naira. One brought 1,000 naira. One brought what they had. They added again, until it was enough to settle the debt. When they paid, the policeman counted and nodded. Okay. Just like that, Tonya was released. When she stepped outside the station, the air felt different, fresh, but her heart was heavy, because freedom came with shame. As they walked back to the village, she did not walk like queen again. No slow steps, no chin up, no royal neck turning. She walked like a human being. Normal, quiet, small. Her shoulders were down. Her eyes were tired. People that saw her returning started murmuring again. So they released her. So she has money now. Maybe Prince finally sent money. Mama Ijiro ran out and shouted, City Madam has returned. Some people laughed. Some people stared. Tonya did not answer anybody. She entered her compound quietly. The same compound that was full during Valentine. Now it was full again. But this time, not for celebration, for judgment. People gathered. Some sat down, some stood, some leaned on wall. Children climbed places again. Women adjusted wrappers again. Everybody wanted to hear explanation. Mama Ifoma stood near Tonya and said softly, tell them the truth. If you lie again, nobody will help you again. Papa Kule nodded. Tonya swallowed. Her throat was dry again. She looked around. She saw faces, some mocking, some angry, some curious, some pitying. Then for the first time, she spoke without pride. Her voice was shaking. She said, I want to talk. The compound became quiet. Even the chickens moved away. She continued, slowly, in simple words, I am sorry. Tears entered her eyes again. She wiped her face and said, I lied. A loud ah came from the crowd. She raised her hand like she was begging them to let her finish. There is no prince. More murmuring. Some people laughed small. Some people hissed. She continued quickly before they could stop her. I am an orphan. That word dropped like stone. The crowd reduced their noise. I have nobody, she said. I have nothing. I came to this village alone. Her voice broke. She forced it back together. I only wanted respect. Silence swallowed the compound. After that day, something changed in the air of the village. It was not loud. It was not like festival. It was quiet change, like morning light slowly entering a dark room. Tonya stood in her small room the next morning and looked at herself in the mirror. The mirror was still cracked. The plastic chair was still bending. The mattress was still making sound. Nothing in the room had changed, but something inside her had shifted. She looked at her face. No sunglasses, no proud chin, no royal attitude. Just her, just Tonya. She touched her head slowly and whispered, enough. That day, she removed the fake crown from her head. Not real crown, but the invisible one she had been wearing.
The one made of pride. The one made of lies. The one made of my prince is coming. She dropped it inside her heart and decided never to wear it again. No more lies. No more borrowed lifestyle. No more acting like ground owed her money. She stepped outside her room and greeted the first woman she saw. "Good morning, Mama." The woman looked at her carefully, because this greeting was not real greeting. It was normal greeting, real greeting. The woman answered slowly, "Good morning." Tonya did not rush away. She stood there and helped the woman carry small basin inside. It was small help, but it was real. People noticed. The village always notices. She went to the market that day not to walk up and down, not to pretend, not to show face. She carried a small basket of vegetables. Yes, vegetables, tomatoes, pepper, onions. She went to buy from one woman in bulk and started reselling. At first, some people laughed. One girl whispered, "See city madam selling tomato." Another replied, "Where is her imported prince?" They laughed. Tonya heard them, but this time, she did not lift her chin. She did not wear sunglasses. She did not reply with big English. She just smiled softly and continued arranging her vegetables. "Fresh tomato, fresh pepper," she shouted in clear, simple voice. Her voice was not ashamed. It was honest. The first day was hard. Some customers passed her and went to other sellers. Some women stared at her like she was strange. But one old woman came and bought small pepper. She paid and said quietly, "Work is not shame." Tonya nodded. The second day, more people bought. The third day, she was already known as the tall girl selling tomato. Not city madam, not royal wife, just Tonya. And something funny happened. When you stop pretending, your face becomes lighter. Her laughter changed. Before, she laughed carefully, like she was afraid of breaking her royal image. Now, she laughed freely. If something was funny, she bent down and laughed well. If something was silly, she shook her head and laughed openly. The children noticed first. Children always notice truth. They stopped calling her queen. They started calling her Auntie Tonya. And this time, it did not hurt. She greeted people properly. She said good morning without twisting her tongue. She said thank you without adding big grammar. She joined women under mango tree again. When they talked about yam price, she talked like them. When they talked about rain, she talked like them. She did not say economic inflation of tuberous commodities. She said yam is expensive. And everybody laughed. Not at her, with her. Slowly, something interesting began to happen. The same villagers who mocked her began defending her. One afternoon, two young girls were whispering again. Remember when she said Prince is coming? They giggled. Before they could continue, Mama Ifeoma spoke sharply. "Leave her. She has changed." The girls became quiet. Another day at the market, one man tried to joke loudly. "Madam, is Prince buying these tomatoes?" People laughed. But before Tonya could answer, Papa Kunle replied, "Enough. Everybody makes mistake. At least she's walking now." The man coughed and pretended he was joking. Tonya stood there surprised. She did not expect people to defend her, but they did, because change is louder than shame. The young girls in the village learned something too. They used to admire flowers and balloons. Now they looked at Tonya's small vegetable table and saw something bigger. One girl told her friend quietly, "I will not lie for respect again." Another replied, "Death is not fashion." They laughed small, but the lesson stayed in their mind. Even Mama Ijiro, who loved gossip like sugar, reduced her noise. One day, she even bought tomato from Tonya and said, "This one is fresh." That was her way of apologizing without apologizing. Mama Nena, the old woman with sharp eyes, watched everything. One evening, she called Tonya to sit beside her. They sat under the mango tree where everything started. The old woman looked at her face and nodded slowly. "You are different now." Tonya smiled gently. "Yes, Mama." Mama Nena said something that stayed in the air like proverb. "Truth is cheaper than debt." The women around heard it. They murmured agreement. Because it was true. Truth does not charge interest. Truth does not send police. Truth does not wake you up at night. Truth does not make your phone buzz like mosquito of destiny. Truth is simple, and simple is powerful. Days turned to weeks. Weeks turned to months. Tonya's vegetable business grew small. She added okra. She added egg garden. She added pumpkin leaves. She saved small money, very small, but honest money. When she counted it at night, it felt different. It did not burn her heart. It did not shake her sleep. It did not carry shame. Her mattress still made sound. Krr.
But now the sound did not feel like laughter. It felt like old friend. Her room was still small, but it felt peaceful. No lone abs buzzing, no fear of police, no fake prints. One afternoon, a woman from another village came to buy vegetables. She asked someone nearby, "Who is that tall girl?" The woman replied, "That is Tonia." The visitor asked, "Is she married?" The woman smiled and said, "No, but she is hardworking." That answer made Tonia's heart warm, not because of marriage talk, but because of the word hardworking. Not royal, not city, not queen, hardworking. And this time, when people respected Tonia was not because of flowers, balloons, or an invisible prince, but because she became real. The moral of Tonia's story is simple. Fake respect will always expire, but honest living lasts. When you lie to look big, you may enjoy small praise for a short time, but the shame that follows is heavier than the crown you were wearing. Debt taken for pride will chase you, but truth will set you free. It is better to be poor and real than to be fake and celebrated. In the end, people respected Tonia not because of flowers, balloons, or an invisible prince, but because she chose honesty, hard work, and humility. Truth is always cheaper than debt. Thank you for watching this story on Afro Tales TV. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and share with friends and family. We have more beautiful stories coming your way, so subscribe and stay tuned. See you in the next one.